Hello and welcome to the September Brego monthly leisure intel update. My name is Rupert and I'm head of Insight and Communications here at Brego. The leisure intel reports and broadcasts that we do look at what happens in the touring home, holiday home, motorhome and camper markets, along with a high-level review of the UK economy and obviously its impact upon used leisure unit sales. Going forward, please expect to see a monthly Brego broadcast for the UK automotive sector as well as the UK leisure market. And next month, we're going to extend that, the Brego broadcast, to cover the motorcycle industry and also the LCV market as well, giving our customers and the industry a full view of what is going on in their market vertical. So for the September leisure intel market update, let's have a quick summary of what's happened in the UK economy. And to be honest, it's not been a particularly rosy picture. Things aren't as nice as we would like them to be at the moment. Inflation remains steady at 3.8%, which is almost twice the 2% government target, which is a surprise as many pundits had expected it to drop. But there were quite a lot of rises in motor fuel, food, restaurants, hotels, and those were the major factors that helped keep that inflation at 3.8%. And of course, the September inflation rate is going to be announced on October the 22nd, and we sincerely hope that that will see a drop, but the forecasts are that it's likely to increase once again. The bank base rate that was reduced on August the 7th to 4% has remained level, and forecasts are now for it to remain level through to the end of the year, which is a shame really, because we were hoping to see further interest rate decreases as the year finished off. But so a little bit of a disappointment there. Business confidence is reported quarterly, and that is still sitting at -27 from -33 the previous quarter, and the CBI do give a warning that it is going to continue to drop at the end of Q4, and obviously that's going to be dependent upon what happens with the inflation rate and what we see in terms of the budget later on in November. Consumer confidence has edged back down to -19 from -17, which seems to be a reflection of the general nervousness around the state of the current government and specifically the impending tax increases that will be coming probably on November the 26th. A lot of discussion around that and the impact that will have. At the moment, the average mortgage rate for a 2-year fixed mortgage is at 4.51%, and the 5-year is slightly higher at 4.55%, and they've remained broadly similar from the previous month, and that's data according to Rightmove. The major purchase index dropped by a further 2 points to -19. Again, a further confirmation of the general consumer unease at the moment, not helped, of course, by the fact that the price of fuel has moved upwards from £1.34.3, to £1.34.3 on September the 29th, from £1.33.9 on August the 31st. That's a litre of unleaded, and diesel has gone upwards from 141.6 to 142.9. Unemployment has remained static at 4.7%, and there's genuine concern that this is going to increase as the year goes forward. Forecasts are that it will be sitting at 4.9% by the end of Q1 2026. Again, very dependent on the type of impact that we see in the budget on November the 26th. So in terms of the UK used leisure market, we're going to be looking at what's been happening using insight from the Brego Whole Market data. Okay, so first of all, looking at touring homes, total adverts were down by 5.3%, and that kind of suggested that there was some good market activity. But the reality was that sales dropped by 17.1% when compared to August, which could well be the start of the seasonal decline. However, I will point out that last year the drop between August and September was just 4.7%. So maybe something more here. We'll have to wait and see. In terms of two-berth adverts, they were down by 6.6%, which shows that there is less stock in the market. Now, this could be because dealers aren't advertising as many touring homes as they do have in stock, just purely for a cost basis. But it's an important point to note. Also, these models, two berths, have an 18.7% share of the market, which is up 0.8% on last month, but down 1.4% on September 2024. From a four-berth advert point of view, the total number of adverts was down by 4.9%, and the market share for four berths was at 62.3%, which was up 3.2% on August, although it is 2.3% lower than September 2024. So there is some evidence there that there's a shift in supply, and that's worthy of noting and looking further into it with some deeper investigation. Now, that can be done using the Brego Insight tool, which is part of the Brego platform, and it's well worth starting to delve into that data in more detail. From a days to sale perspective, it dropped slightly from 48.7 in August to 46.8 in September, slightly slightly quicker than the previous month, and perhaps a surprise given that the volume of sales declined so much during the course of the month. Average used touring home price went up by 1.3% to 16,512, and that suggests perhaps that the cheaper tours are the ones that are being sold, hence pushing that general average price upwards. But when you break it down, the average price for a two-berth dropped by 5%, the four-berth increased by 2.6%, and a mention here, which does have a bearing on this, is that six-berth touring homes went up, the average price went up by 8.6%. So moving to holiday homes, total adverts increased by 4%, and that suggests that the market is slowing slightly, or just generally there's more stock coming to market, which is a possibility at this time of year. More on that in just a second. Actually, when you look at sales, indicated by the number of adverts we see removed from advertising platforms in September, that actually showed an increase of 16% in comparison to August, which is very positive. Now, that will be in part, I should imagine, due to an increase in sales, but it will also be due to the time of year and perhaps less units being advertised. When you look at two-bedroom adverts, they were down by 3.2%, following a drop of 1.7% in August, and that is suggesting that is where the consumer demand is. You know, those are the units that are selling. Three-berth holiday homes adverts were up by a significant 18.8%. That's following a decline the previous month of 22.9%, which is interesting. And this is perhaps due to seasonal hire fleet disposal. And when compared to last month, it does show that the market availability is balancing out a little bit to where we might see that as being normal. In terms of days to sale, they dropped slightly from 53.4 to 51, so that slight improvement on the previous month supports the increase that we've seen in retail demand and the corresponding sales activity. And again, looking in more detail using the Brego Insight tool, you must do that because the picture varies greatly with significant increases in the average days to sale for 1-year-old, 4-year-old, and 7-year-old holiday homes. That'll be due to the volume of them in market, desirability, and perhaps average price as well, but it's well worth looking at it in more detail. The average used holiday home price went down by 1.4%, following an increase of 9.5% in August, and it now sits at £23,239. And although it is worth noting, please, that there's, as with the days to sell, there are some significant variances based on the age of the holiday home in there as well, and that again is down to supply and so forth. Motorhomes and campers, total adverts were up by 2.8%, which again suggests the market slowdown, as we saw in the other market verticals, or maybe perhaps there is more stock in market, typical for this time of year. The sales indicated the number of indicated by the number of adverts that are removed from platforms in September show a decline of 7.9% overall, and when that's split, it's 7.8% for motorhomes and 8.2% for campervans, for campers. So the split in terms of sales, 72.7% for motorhomes and 27.3% for campervans. Trade adverts were up by 4%, having been down by 4.6% the previous month. And that's indicating that it's the dealer sector that's really feeling the slowdown at the moment. Private adverts were down by 9.2%. Again, that follows a drop of 7.4% in August. And that kind of highlights that private vendors just aren't in the market to sell at this particular time of year. We need to watch this over the coming months to see whether this is a seasonal trend or it really is a shift in the market dynamic and people want to hold on to their motorhomes and campers for longer. Days to sales, 74.4. That's a marked increase of 7.1 days over August. And again, that supports this reported decrease in sales activity. The average used motorhome and camper price did increase by 1.2%. That's following on from an increase in August of 9.5%. So in summary, it seems that the economic pressures and political instability really are having a negative effect on consumer confidence and appetite for spending on big ticket items right now, which is a shame, and we just have to follow that through over the coming weeks. For touring caravans, there were fewer transactions than August, but a faster turn and slightly firmer prices overall. When you look at holiday homes, demand rose into September, but buyers pushed back on price, and the decision cycles lengthened slightly. Nearly new units needed sharper pricing and perhaps some finance incentives to get them moved, and it was the 2- and 3-year-old stock that appeared to be best aligned to the current demand. For motorhomes and campers, campervan prices rose faster than motorhomes. The data suggests that the typical late season cooling is now underway, even though the price is held pretty firm. I do once again urge caution at this particular time of year. We are going into the quieter, colder winter months, and that's an important thing to factor in. But by the time we next report, of course, we will have seen the impact and the success of the National Motorhome and Caravan Show, which was held at the NEC during October. So I think overall, if you need to improve your market insight and understanding of all the different nuances in today's UK market, then you really need to speak to the Brego sales team. They will show you how the Brego pricing platform and the market data contained within that platform, it will help you to improve understanding of what's going on in the market. But of course, ultimately, it's there to help you increase profitability for your business or your park. Thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing you next month.